The learning Zila Nishmas Etta Ahuva Bechoros Perik Test Mishna Yomi. Shloisha Groinos LaMeiser Behema. There are 3 gerons, 3 seasons for Meiser Behema. And as a hakdama to what this is, we're going to skip to the end of the next Mishnah. At the end of Mishnah Vav, which we'll learn shortly, it says, Lama Nemra Shalosh Groinos LaMeiser. What's in Negeya these 3 seasons? Sha'ad Shalahigia Hagerim Mutter Limker V'Lishchet. That before this time you're allowed to sell the animals and to shech them. Higia Hagerim, once you get to this time, Lo Yishchet L'Chatchilu, you're not allowed to shech them. That's why it's called a gerin, similar to like the gerin of Meiser, that you're not allowed to eat it from unless till you give Meiser. So over here it's only L'Chatchila, though. L'Chatchila you shouldn't eat it. If b'diavad you did it, you're pater. So the hainu midaraisa you're allowed to eat before you give Meiser Behema, but there's a derabbanan when you get to these 3 times that you're not allowed to eat it. Why they say 3 times? So the Gemara says, because there's chorfi, afli, and kaiti. There's different animals. Some of them give birth before Pesach. Some of them are delayed until between Pesach and Shavuos, and some don't give birth until between Shavuos and Sukkot. And keneged that, the Chacham were misakin these 3 times. Why specifically these times? The Gemara says, Mishna Bahani Zimni. So the Gemara Kadesh Tehi Behema Mitsuya La'ila Regalim. Because we wanted that people should give Meiser, and then after they give Meiser, then they're allowed to sell their animals. So if they do that, then after they give the Meiser Behema, which is right before, we're going to see right before the Shalosh Regalim, then they're going to sell, and there's going to be a lot of animals available for those that are being Oil the Regel. So the first Zman is a 3-way machlekes. The first sheet holds that the first Zman is B'Pras HaPesach, the second time is B'Pras HaTzeres, and the third time is B'Pras HaChag. What's Pras? The Gemara says Pras means half of the 30 days that it's Shalom Adarshan Behilchas HaPesach, which is 15 days. So 15 days before Pesach, 15 days before Shavuos, and 15 days before Sukkot, people are going to give Meiser Behema, and then they're going to sell their animals. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, and that's why they'll have animals for Regal. Ben Azai says Be'etzem V'Tisha Ba'adar. So whereas Rabbi Akiva says it's 15 days before Pesach, the Gemara explains that Rabbi Akiva didn't want to say a specific day because he held sometimes Adar is Chaser, sometimes it's Malay. So he just said 15 days before Pesach. And Ben Azai spells out a day, the 29th of Adar, which is that exact time, but he held that Adar Hasamach Nisan is always going to be a Chaser. The second Zman of Ben Azai is taka different. So instead of 15 days before Shavuos, he holds that it's Echad B'Sivan. Right, 7 days before Shavuos, and the reason is because if it would be 15 days before Shavuos, so since there are not so many animals being born between Pesach and Shavuos, it's only 50 days. So if you would go ahead and make the Zman 15 days before Shavuos, so many days before, then everyone would sell out their animals, and there would be no animals left by the time the Oili Regalim went there. So therefore he held, no, it's only 7 days before Shavuos. And the third time of Ben Azai was Be'esem V'Tisha Ba'av. So this is a lot before. Instead of just being 15 days before Sukkot, which would be about Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, he holds that you go a month before, like around Rosh Chodesh Elul, and even before that, the day before that, which is 29th of Av. Why did he hold that it can't be 15 days before? So the Gemara says that Ben Azai's L'Shitasai, like we're going to see at the end of the Mishnah, that Ben Azai holds that Elul itself is a suffix, if it's part of the previous year or the next year. Whereas Rameir holds, and this is what we've quoted until now, that Echad Be'elul is Rosh Hashanah L'Maiser Behema. Ben Azai was Mesupik about Elul, whether it's Misaser from the year before or the year afterwards, and therefore he held that you're Misaser Elul alone. Before Elul is 1 year, and after Elul is another year. So when it came to the Gerin, he made it go all the way back from before Elul, from the 29th of Av. And the third shita in the Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon Omer, Be'echa B'Nisan, which is 2 weeks before Pesach, Echa B'Sivan, which is like Ben Azai said, and Be'esem V'Tisha Be'elul, he taka holds it's 15 days before Sukkot, which is the 29th of Elul. V'lama amru Be'esem V'Tisha Be'elul v'lo yamru Be'echa B'Tishrei. Why not exactly 15 days before on Rosh Hashanah. Mimnei shehu Yom Tif. V'efshel la'aser b'Yom Tif. The Gemara says, why not? Because mishum sikrasa, because since they had to hit the animal with a red dye, and you're not allowed bitzeveya and Yom Tif, so therefore you're not allowed to give meiser behema on Yom Tif, and therefore they said that it has to be done chaf tes elul. Taisa says, why isn't there the issa derabbanan of a magdishim b'Yom Tif, and you shouldn't be allowed to give meiser behema because of that? And Taisa says, because since it's kaddish me'atzma, even without calling it, so therefore it's not a problem of a magdishin b'Yom Tif. The Gemara also speaks out that really there's another reason why they didn't want to make it on Rosh Hashanah itself, because since Rosh Hashanah is exactly the first day of the month, so they wanted to make a heker between Chadash and Yashan. The Mishnah didn't speak out at that reason, but Huadin, it's because of that reason also. The Mishnah ends off with the machlekes we already said. Now this part of the Mishnah is Negeya being ma'aser from Chadash and Yashan, which we learned earlier in Mishnah Aleph, that you're not allowed to be misaser from Chadash and Yashan. So the cutoff point, Rameir says, is Echa Be'elim. Ben Azai says, Elu misasim ifnei atzman, like we said, it's a suffix. Mishnah Vav, Kol Ne'elodim Be'echa B'Tish Yad Esim V'Tisha Be'ela, which is the entire year, all 354 days. Harei Elu Mitzdarfen, they're Mitzdarfen. Chamisha L'fnei Rosh Hashanah, Chamisha L'achar Rosh Hashanah, ain't Mitzdarfen, but before Rosh Hashanah and after Rosh Hashanah are not Mitzdarf. That's Chadash and Yashan. Chamisha L'fnei Agorim, Chamisha L'achar Agorim, Harei Elu Mitzdarfen. Because Gorin is not Negeya, the halacha of not being Ma'aser one on the other. What is Gorin Negeya? We learned this part of the Mishnah Asim. Kein Laman Emer Shleisha Groines, L'maisa Behema, is only L'gabe L'chatchilo, Sha'ad Shelo Yigia L'Gorin, Mutter Limkra V'Lishchei, that you're allowed to sell it and shecht it, but once it's Yigia L'Gorin, Midirabanan, Yilishchei, you're not allowed to shecht it, V'im Shach, if you did shecht it, you're pater.